Hello everyone, this is YLam here. In today's Fuji Friday, I want to take a look at Fuji's remote camera app once again because they just did a minor patch update. It looks like they fixed some bugs, they also improved performance. They didn't really get into much details about that, so I figured I'd take a look again. And also on the last video, I really concentrated only on the video side of the remote camera app. This time we're also going to take a look at the photo side and to see all of the settings that you can and cannot change. So let's go ahead, quickly jump into it. It is a very minor update because I don't really see much of an improvement, but I figured I'd go through it with you just so that if you're interested in the Fuji camera systems, you know exactly what you get with the remote camera app. So as you can see, I've already connected this. Right over here is my Fuji X-T3 and it's pointed down to the table where I have a few items. And right now I have it all connected up, and this is on the photography side. So as you can see on the photo side, you can actually change your focus. The box moves around. All you have to do is tap and then you can see the focus change. You can easily go ahead and take a picture. So very familiar functionality. Over here, when you press, you can change some basic settings right here, like ISO, film simulation, white balance, flash mode, and the self timer. So very basic things. On the other side, you can change your auto ISOs to whatever you would like. Again, very basic. Now, when it comes to these settings up here, as usual, you cannot change any of them. These are just kind of display settings that you can look at, but unfortunately, you can't change anything. You can tap up here to change your aperture or exposure compensation. But other than that, it's very basic. For the photo side, you really have very basic functionality. You really need to actually have most of your camera set up the way you want before you start using the remote camera app. On the video side, nothing's really changed all that much over here either. Unfortunately, they didn't add any functionality to actually change focus points. This is something that I really wish that they would put in at minimum. Also, we have the same problem that we had last time, which is when you start recording, even though I set the Fuji X-T3 to record in 4K, it's actually recording in its base setting, which is 1080p. This is something that a lot of people get wrong, and I actually thoroughly tested it just to make sure. On the X-H1, it actually records in 720p. The reason why the X-H1 records in 720p is because in the settings, the X-H1 can actually go down to 720p in the settings. But on the X-T3, there is no 720p setting. The lowest you can go is actually 1080p. That's why it stays at 1080p. So if you're going to be using the remote camera app, you definitely want the X-T3 because it's going to go to the lowest base settings, which is 1080p, as opposed to the X-H1. If you go to the lowest settings, it's going to be 720p, that's a vast difference, right? Nobody really records in 720p anymore. So you definitely want the X-T3 if you're going to be using the remote camera app. Again, over on this side, you can do the basic settings once again. On the other side, you can only change film simulations. So it's actually even less functionality. And once again, all of these things, they don't really do anything. And right here on the aperture, you can again change aperture or exposure compensation, but that's really it. Right now, it's only focusing on the center. So if you want it to focus in on other things, you're going to have to move whatever you want to focus on in the center. Now let's go ahead and start recording again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wave my hand in front of the camera. And as you can see, we still get this lag problem. So there's no improvement updates when it comes to this problem right here. But again, this is not a drastic improvement of the remote camera app. I think this is just a minor update. If you're like me and you actually want the remote camera app to be very functional, definitely send an email off to Fujifilm telling them that they should spend some time and resources really enhancing the Fuji camera app so that it can actually be usable on the video side. Really, for us video shooters, there's really three basic things that we need. Number one, we need to be able to change our resolution. So we need to be able to bump up to 4K in slow motion when we need to. Number two, we need to be able to change our focus points and really toggle off face detect. Those are our top two most important ones. And the third one I would put in is to reduce the camera feed's lag, but that's really minor to the top two that I have. Anyways, that's all I have this week to report on the remote camera app update. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.